So school started again. My younger daughter started first grade, and so did yours, right?
Oh, she did, yes.
Is she enjoying it?
She's a big girl now, that's right.
Oh, wonderful. I've been really impressed by how the teachers managed to teach them through games. When I ask what they did at school, it seems all they do is play, and yet they end up knowing more about dinosaurs and the different levels of the oceans than I could ever recall.
Indeed they do. So maybe we should also play something to better understand finance. Should we play Monopoly?
I'm not sure there's real value in learning that you win by building a large portfolio of real estate and drive others bankrupt.
Well, there's also a game called Risk. But we recorded an episode on risk management. I now realize that game doesn't deal very much with risk. It should really be called Megalomania or something else instead, shouldn't it?
But that reminds me, we have a guy in the risk management directorate at the European Investment Bank who has developed the game all by himself. His name is Vincent Thunus, and he's the head of regulation and best banking practice division.
Well, so let's invite him onto the Dictionary of Finance podcast. Play the game with him. So before you became a banker and a risk manager, you actually had a very complicated, or a training in a very complicated subject that's completely different.
Yeah, indeed. I have a degree in engineering, and after my degree, actually, I did a PhD in fluid mechanics.
Well, what's fluid mechanics?
Well, it's about describing how fluid can move, like, for instance, the air in the atmosphere, or even the water in the seas, for instance. It's one example, yes.
But what about liquidity in a bank? Is that fluid?
It's not the connection, actually.
Oh, but we should all stop and give that the golf clap right there. Well done. Very good.
Thank you.
Liquidity. Excellent. Okay. We should just stop and go home right now. It's not going to get better than that. But let's go on anyway. So how did you get from there into what we're doing now, apart from through puns?
Well, actually, to model fluid, you also use equations, mathematical equations, partial differential equations, for instance, which are also used in other fields like finance. So I think that what basically made me a suitable applicant for a position in a bank.
Yes, partial differential equations. We had that in the financial engineering podcast that we did with Thomas Ribaritz.
And I've completely forgotten about them.
I remember the term. I don't know what they are, though. So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so all that leads us to something much more playful than you might imagine after all that complexity, which is a game. Which, shall we call it Tunusopoly? Or Bank Vincent. Bank
Vincent game, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so Bank Vincent is, where does it come from? Did you just invent a game because you wanted to, or does it have a reason?
There was a purpose to it, actually. I mean, the bank has accepted to have a few students coming from Sinchot School for now 3 years, I think, and we offer sort of introduction to students about 15 years. And the idea was, with this game, to give really the very first introduction to what a bank is before talking about risks. So I think that was the purpose of the game, to make it interactive with the students.
So we're going to play through it, and it's going to show us how a bank works, how people invest in banks or use banks, but it's also going to show us what can go wrong.
Exactly, and the concept like what is interest payment, if you make a deposit or if you borrow money, I think it's the basics. So we need to go first to the basics, and then we can discuss a bit about risks.
So you're going to be the bank.
Okay.
So
fine.
Vincent is the bank. It's Bank Vincent. Alar and I are going to be in it. And we also have two special gamers here. We have Chris and Sophie, who are looking really happy to be playing. They look about as happy as my kids do when I sit down and say, let's play Monopoly, guys. But we're going to play Tunusopoly today. You ready to go, guys?
Yes.
Ready, yes, excited.
I can see that.
Wow.
Good.
All right.
Well, here we go. Let's play. The floor is yours, banker.
Well, I suggest that we basically draw cards to see exactly what each of us will have to do. Okay, I know already that I will be the bank, but okay, many things can be done with a bank.
Okay. So I will start out with with some cash on my hands, right?
Okay, that
That's
would
right.
be
We all
useful.
start out with some money.
Well, let's see if everybody does. But I have 4,000 euros to start.
Mm-hmm. So you have 4,000 euros.
Sophie,
I
what
have
what you got?
4,400 euros.
Oh, you.
Oh, no,
that's right.
dollars. Is it dollars?
That's
I
right.
think
You
it
have
makes
4,400. I
Yes,
actually
you've
have
got nothing.
No, I have nothing.
You don't have anything.
And I have annual revenues of 500 euros. That means I got 500 euros coming in for the year. So clearly, I'm going to have to take a pretty big punt here. I think I'm going to be the risk guy here. Chris, what have you got?
I have 0 as well, but
Ah,
and 2,000 euros in annual revenue.
good job.
okay,
Good job.
okay. And the bank is sitting on a huge pile of cash right now.
No, not really. I mean, I really start with a little amount of money for a bank. 2,000 euros. It's really peanuts.
Really?
But I need
Okay.
money. I need money from depositors.
Okay,
so-
well, I had the 4,000 euros, and I'm just gonna deposit that in my current account.
Well, that's good. But interest rate 1%. Well, you know, interest rates are low today.
I'm just gonna have to accept that, I guess.
Okay, indeed.
Ah,
And
okay.
Sophie, what are you gonna do with your cash?
I will deposit as well.
You can accept deposits in foreign currencies, yes.
And which interest rate will you give him?
Well, markets today, if it's a term deposit for 2 years, it will be 2%.
Okay,
Right?
I accept it.
So she's giving you the money for 2 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then we will see after.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. We will see each other regularly as a banker with his clients.
Well, I have no money, but I do have. I feel like there should be some fun going on here. So I want some money from you because now you're the bank. You've got money and you can lend it to me because these guys have given it to
True,
you.
I have some cash, but what would you like to do with this money?
Well, I'd like 10,000 euros, but I think I'll just have 5,000 for now. I'd be a little bit sensible. 5,000, but I want it for quite a long time.
How long?
6 years.
Okay, what do you plan to do with it?
I think I'll go on holiday. I'll buy a luxury car, which I see from our game here. That's going to cost me 2,500 for the holiday, and 2,500 for the luxury car.
Well, I trust that you have good support, family support, because otherwise I would not extend that loan to you. But okay, let's make the deal.
So I've got to get my mum and dad to pay
Maybe
this for me.
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
see.
that makes me feel good as a 50-year-old man, but it's okay. It's just a game. Okay. And Chris, what irresponsible thing are you going to do?
Okay, well, I have nowhere to live, so that's influencing my decision quite a bit. So I need a house.
Mm.
So
I think it's okay. I mean, this is a safe investment nowadays.
later may become the sports
you-
car and the island.
Yeah, you have a
Right.
good income though,
Yeah.
Right.
compared to
right.
Matt.
Oh, that's right.
So-
You got more than me.
So I was thinking of spending around 5,000 euros on a house,
No.
maybe over 3 years.
Okay. Well, I
To
can
buy a
accept it's
house.
too long. It's not too long, so it's probably good. But I will take a security on the house. It will be a mortgage loan. I mean.
Okay,
Which
sure.
basically means that if you don't pay me, I can seize the house and proceed with the sale, right?
Right, sure. Okay.
Uh-huh.
No.
Well, you can't seize my holiday.
Yeah, it will be more difficult, obviously.
Ah.
And therefore, your interest rate
That's why my interest rate is
is
higher.
higher.
Indeed,
So he's at 4% interest and mine is 6%.
indeed.
And
Wow,
your,
alright.
the interest rate for the car, how much would it be then?
I
Because
don't
the
know. You
car-
haven't seen how I
you-
drive,
The
have you?
car, you can seize the car, but the price of the car goes down when you use it.
Yeah,
Mm.
I expect you to take care of your car, and
Mm.
hopefully you will insure it.
Wow. Wow, this is not as much fun as I thought, but it'll do. It's okay. All right, fantastic. So there we go. That's what we've all got our first positions there.
Okay.
What's the next step, banker? What do we do?
Well, we all took commitments with each other. So now there is the concept of interest rate. So I need to receive and to pay interest rate to some of you.
I'm definitely getting some money.
Yes, indeed. Not that much, but your 1%, indeed, I need to pay you, I think it's 40 euros for your deposits on your current account.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
1 year later. Right?
That's 1 year
Yeah,
later.
indeed. We are 1 year later now.
All right. thank
Our
you very
listeners,
much.
it's been only a few seconds, It might feel like 1 year, but in the game, it's a year.
Indeed.
It's a year.
All right.
So
thanks
you've
a
got
lot.
40 euros there.
That's 4 years. But what if I wanted to, in addition to that interest rate, what if I wanted to take out some of my money, like let's say 1,000 euros? I want to take out 1,000 euros from my current account. It's my money.
Sure, it's your money, but then I have to make sure that I have the money to give to you. Actually, now that I'm looking at my account, I mean, there is not that much I can pay you, I'm afraid.
So what happens then? What happens to
I
Vincent?
hope you will be reasonable. Now, if you really insist, then I'm afraid that I may be in serious trouble. Indeed, because I've used your cash and I've lent it to other people. And for longer term. So I hope you can accept not to withdraw your amount now, because otherwise I'm really possibly in default.
And that because you have what kind of risk is this?
Is it liquidity risk? So actually, as a bank, I should be able to meet all my obligations in terms of liquidity. Indeed, Allah has a right to withdraw his money anytime, but I was not really cautious enough to keep the cash necessary to serve this kind of request. So actually, yes, I would be in trouble if you would really ask for the full amount.
So what does a bank normally do to guard against liquidity risk?
Well, either holding liquidity at the short term, this is one option, or what I've not described in this small sketch is I could myself then turn to another bank and ask for money to basically bridge the gap, serve the money, but then I have another commitment, liquidity commitment towards a third party. But let's imagine that another bank would refuse to lend me money, then I'm really in trouble.
All right.
No, it's not just you. It's all of us. Then I think
And
so
which
all of us are in trouble. All of us are in trouble in that case.
And which guarantee would you give to that bank if you don't have any money?
No, I'm guaranteed I still have some assets. I mean, all the loans I've extended are still assets. So I'm still a solvent bank, as we say. So it's not like if I'm not creditworthy. It's just that I don't have the cash now. But if the other bank trusts that I will ultimately get cash back from the loans I've granted, then there will be no trouble.
Well, let's hope you do. Well, I'm gonna let you go this time. I'm gonna keep my cash on my account to keep you in business for now.
Okay.
Let's see what else happens.
I will get my percentage, my interest rate.
Yeah, and I owe you interest indeed in dollars. So actually, I need to exchange a bit euro against dollar, but it's easy. I can access a broker and give you interest.
Okay.
So here you are.
And if I decide I reinvest those $88 into the bank,
It's possible.
just
you
to
could
add
indeed.
to the 4,400.
Wait, you're really conservative, aren't you?
Yeah.
I
Because
admire it.
I'm
I
rich.
admire it.
You don't
I'm
want
rich,
to.
so I don't want that money. in
Oh.
fact.
Okay, you don't
Yeah.
want to go out buy something nice for yourself.
You want to come on holiday with me?
I have already
Ah,
everything.
okay, you have everything.
Ah.
Must be nice to be you.
Whereas I have to pay you back
Interest.
some of yes, I have to pay the interest now.
Indeed.
Right. So while I've been swanning around on holiday and driving my car, I've also been getting 500 in my annual revenue. So I have to give you 300 of that now.
Yes.
Oh,
A lot of
right.
money based on your revenues.
wow,
But-
that is.
Good.
Yeah. Wow, is this part of the game that I start to regret what I did in the first year?
We'll
Yeah,
see. I
it
hope
could
you will
be.
enjoy
And
your
in life in general, maybe.
Well, that's for sure. Yes.
Where is
Okay.
this revenue coming from while you're out having fun?
I think it was his parents.
Oh.
That was.
Right.
That was the
Ah,
thing.
okay.
Not necessarily. Maybe he earns also some money.
Oh.
Well, I suppose
Are you
so.
at work or not?
I don't know. I suppose in this game, should I have a job or not? I don't know. I'll think that through. I suppose that means I don't, actually. Just a question, do I want one? What's going on with the house over there, Chris?
Okay, the White family. So I took out 5,000 euros, and the interest rate is 4%. So I owe the bank 200 euros a year. Is that correct?
Exact.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Uh-huh, but you have annual revenues of 2,000
I do,
euros.
so I should be able to make those payments.
I think so.
You're
Right.
swimming in it. Absolutely. Okay, so that was the second year of the game. Wow, now let's move on. Where do we get to now? What's the next step? My holiday is long gone, and my car, I probably crashed it by now. But let's see, we've still got the money going on.
Well, I imagine that everything keeps on going the same way the second year, except for Sophie, you get your deposit back because you only deposited for 2 years.
Yes.
Indeed, I have to return to you principal and interest this time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you get your...
And if I reinvest it, if I deposit it again,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
but would you make a special effort for the interest rate?
Well, I'm afraid that, interest rates are still very low, so probably I will keep the interest rate as they are.
I might go to somewhere else then.
Yeah, actually, but now you pointed a risk indeed. If the market would have moved and if other banks offer higher rates, obviously as a bank, probably I would have to align. Now, and that would indeed mean that I will have to pay in the future to you more interest on your deposit, while still getting the same amount of interest from the loans. So indeed, it will have an impact on my profit.
Yeah, but do you want to keep the customer or not?
Yes, clearly, in an environment where interest rate would have increased, I would have to accept to pay you a higher interest rate. That's for sure.
Okay, I will check around first.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So she drives a very hard bargain. And then for me and for Chris, it's the same thing, right? Just paying back to the bank. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing this year again.
Indeed. As long as
Okay.
you pay, I'm happy.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And this keeps on going year after year, right?
Indeed.
Unless
After
happens
3 years,
next?
actually, after 3 years, you need to give me back the full amount of the loan on the house.
Oh.
So I think, with what you have earned every year, I think you should be able to pay out, right?
I should be able to, yes. So I took out 5,000 euros, is that right?
Yeah, that's okay. Well, thank you then.
Okay.
Then
Deal
You
is
gonna-
settled
you
now.
gonna give it back?
Well, I'm going to. I think I have enough money now. I've been earning 2,000 a year, so yeah.
Okay.
So you're paying back the 5,000 loan and
Yeah.
200 interest
Plus-
for this year.
Plus the interest, right?
Ah.
So he's now the happy owner of his house without any pledge to the bank. So good for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm paying back interest again from
Yeah.
my 500 that I get. I'm paying back another 300.
Yeah.
So that I can keep driving my car around.
Well, don't you need
You
to
st-
return the whole thing though?
I think you
it's
crashed
a bit
it.
Mine was a
later.
6 year. Mine was
Oh,
a 6 year
okay,
loan.
6
I
years.
believe.
Okay.
As long as he pays, I'm fine.
I thought you
Alright.
crashed your car, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I crashed. I fixed it. Though.
Okay.
I took it to a guy I know.
Okay, so let's
That's it.
imagine it's year 6. You have to return the whole thing. You have to return your money.
Yes.
Okay. So, what actually, Vincent? What happens if he actually did crash his car?
Well, it's okay as long as he pays me the full amount he owes me. So that's to start with. Now, given your annual revenue, I hope you have somebody else to support you. Remember, I talked about your parents, because I'm afraid that maybe if you have not earned more, you may be short of cash to pay me the
No,
the full
actually,
amount of the loan.
I crashed my car. My parents have disowned me. No one's going to give me any money. I've spent all the rest of my money. I've got nothing.
And the insurance?
That's
I
an
just
issue
got. I
now.
do have my 500.
He forgot to
annual
take out
revenue.
insurance.
You
but-
didn't take the insurance, did you?
Insurance? No, I didn't have the money because I was paying it all to the bank. But
Okay, so you are in default.
Okay. Well, that might.
Well, that's not my
You're in
problem,
prison
though, is
now.
it? I mean, it's your problem. You're
He's
the
in
bank.
prison now.
Right.
Well, first it's your problem because you are not off the hook like this. But okay, it
Well,
became
we'll
also
assume
my problem now.
We'll
Indeed,
assume that I survived the car crash. But anyway, yes, carry on.
but indeed it becomes my problem as well because
Because I want my money back. I want to cash out my 4,000 or however much I had. Yeah, I had 4,000.
But I'm afraid that because of my defaults, I'm maybe not be able to pay you the full amount.
So that's another risk.
It's indeed a risk. I took credit risks, probably too much credit risk, which materialized.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I've been put in default by my client. And now I'm afraid I cannot really pay you the money back.
So basically, and the way you should have been managing that credit risk is to charge even a higher rate from Matt, or how would you have, like, if you were a
one
prudent
option.
banker?
I would have charged more, but probably from the beginning I would have rejected the loan. Because I would have paid more attention to the fact that you had low revenues, that actually you were not very reasonable investor.
I think keen listeners of this show
have
probably
figured that out.
Yes.
And from the very first place, probably I should not have granted the loan to you. That's probably the conclusion. Yeah.
That's how you manage credit risk, is to...
So really it's your fault I crashed my car.
Not really about your car, but it's my fault to have accepted that risk, for sure.
Well, you wouldn't have had a car to crash had it not been for the bank.
What happens when a bank goes into default? What does happen?
Well, before
People
reaching
with
that,
loans and things.
before reaching that level, there are now mechanisms in place. First, the bank will be expected to trigger recovery plans. So, which basically means that a bank will have to monitor the evolution of the credit, and in due time already activate a number of measures to remedy to the issues faced.
Mm-hmm.
One of the measures could be to ask for more capital.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I become again solvent, and then I can continue to serve, first to operate, and then to serve my clients.
There's also the insurance for depositors, like European-wide.
True, but that it's coverage for you.
Yes,
so
not for the bank. Yes, so that it helps me.
Exactly. So if I default, and if I'm registered as a bank, authorized to operate in the market, that indeed this insurance will indemnify you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if a bank cannot recover by itself, then it enters into another phase, which is called resolution, where some of the other creditors of the bank may be asked to participate to what is called the bail-in of the bank. And if it's not enough, then it's really the default and possibly the liquidation of the bank.
All because I crashed my car. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, at least in this context.
Well, we've talked about liquidity risk, which was if I wanted to cash out more than the bank expected me to. We've talked about the interest rate risk, which was when Sophie suddenly wanted a larger interest payment on her deposit than you were planning for. And we talked about the credit risk scenario when Matt, you crashed your car, which was unexpected, and were therefore left the bank out in the cold, so to say. What other risks are there for a bank?
Well, FX risk is another one that we can mention.
FX is
foreign exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we briefly touched upon it. For instance, you gave me dollars, and I had to exchange it against euro. Let's assume that between the time I make this initial exchange and the time I make the final exchange to return you the money, the FX rate has moved. Maybe from the same amount of euro, I will get less dollars, or to pay you in full the dollars I owe you, I would need to give more euros. That could have an impact on my revenues, on my profits, or even in the very severe scenario, could even lead to a loss or a default. Extreme scenarios.
So I think we can probably say that we have a winner of the game. I think Sophie, they definitely won. You came out with a much better financial situation than any of us. I guess Chris got a house out of it.
Second place, perhaps.
But second place. I think you're feeling fairly confident.
Boring, but stable.
You can step onto the rostrum for third place and you get the bronze medal.
Well, yeah, you're definitely not on the rostrum.
I got to drive a fancy car and I went on a nice holiday, so I'm all right too.
You might be better than the others at the end.
And what about the poor banker?
The bank.
Yes, I think we should have some sympathy for bankers here, shouldn't we?
Yes,
He's trying to run a business with nothing more than 2,000 euros. But there's a couple of other risks that we wanted to ask you about. What's reputational risk?
Well, it's the risk of for the bank because of a reputational event to either have lower revenues or potentially to be fined. I mean, that can happen as well. And ultimately, you can have just clients moving away from a bank because it has a bad reputation.
Yeah, so I guess reputation risk could also lead to liquidity risks in the sense that if you have a reputation risk event, that could trigger a lot of people wanting to cash out of the bank or something.
Exactly. A bank run sometimes is based on, it starts with rumors that are sometimes based on reputational issues.
That's exactly what happens in Mary Poppins, if you remember that film. The bank actually has a run on the bank because they're trying to take 2 pennies off the little boy. And then everyone rushes in and says they won't give him his money.
Yes, yeah.
What does the term business risk mean?
Well, business risk is a more generic term about the risk of not conducting your business properly in the fact that you don't have a clear strategy, or the market environment you operate in is changing dramatically and you cannot really follow or catch up. It's also linked sometimes to strategy of a bank. Indeed.
Well, we have a very clear strategy here on this podcast, which is that we keep it to a certain time because that's what people like to listen to. So we're going to end our game here. We're going to say thank you to Chris and Sophie for being here and playing the game and winning it.
Well, thank you.
This is really very impressive.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks to Vincent for coming here and explaining all these things and for being a good sport about having to be the banker. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you.
I won a prize.
A prize for the Bank Vincent game? What kind of prize do you want?
Yes. What to get someone who has everything.
You do.
I know. Maybe from now on you can introduce me on the show as the winner of the banking game.
Oh, you really are a prize. I don't think you won. Sophie did better than you, and so did Chris. So I'll just introduce you by your impossibly long Twitter handle, which you could now change, actually. It's right now, you can reach out to Allah by tweeting to @AllarTankler, ALLARTANKLER. But it could actually be, you can reach out to Allah by tweeting to @the guy who came third in Bank Vincent game when there were only 4 people playing.
All right. Well, you can also reach out to Matt by tweeting to EIB Matt.
Or @the guy who came last in Bank Vincent.
Yes. Let us know of other finance-related games we could try, or by financial terms and concepts we could explain in future episodes.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and rate it. And tune in again next week for the next episode of A Dictionary of Finance.